welcome back to Beauty Bee and to a very different video for this channel. I'm not quite sure how this ended up being a very different video for this channel. This was always intended to be a beauty and fashion channel, but it just didn't evolve in that way. But today we're going to be talking about accessories for fall. I have quite a mix of things here. I have some jewelry, I have 2 bags, and I have some shoes to talk about. None of this is particularly new. Much of this was purchased secondhand, and I thought that I would just give my thoughts on how you can score some really cute things for fall, either from your own closet, already there, just waiting to be worn in a slightly different way, or really inexpensively through secondhand stores. Let's start with jewelry. I think that fall might be the easiest season for secondhand jewelry shopping. I feel like for spring and summer, I think the pieces that people go for tend to be a little bit daintier, and those I find a little bit harder to find at the thrift store. I think people probably keep them around a little bit longer because there is the understanding that they're easy to wear for every day, and 2, I think they get beat up a little bit more than larger or chunkier pieces, so they just aren't in as good of shape when people are ready to get rid of them, so they're probably a little bit more likely to end up in the trash or in that rack in the thrift store that just has a bunch of absolutely mangled jewelry that no one wants. During fall, the jewelry tends to be a little bit bigger, and also, at least my preference during the fall is for some more off metals. You know, in spring and summer, I love really polished golds and silvers, but in the fall, it's fun to try some more grungy colors, some things that aren't quite as clean looking as those pieces that you might reach for other times of the year. For example, I really like copper for the fall. I've had this ring for ages. I think that I got this at Forever 21 when I was in high school, maybe. I mean, it's like 10 years old. The other rings that were in this set have long since left my collection, but I really do like this one. It's sort of a copper colored. I mean, I'm sure that this is whatever the cheapest kind of metal that's probably like cadmium laced that Forever 21 puts in their rings. Allegedly. Don't sue me, anybody. But it has these little etched designs. I think it's just different, it's understated, but interesting. And that is definitely what I like for fall, and really all times of year. And now some other examples of this sort of just different take on metal. These are some earrings that I got at the thrift store last year. I actually think that I featured these in like my 1 or 2 other fashion videos that I've ever made on this channel. But these are pretty large hoop style earrings. They have a post up here and they look like this. I wear these quite a bit all times of year. If you watch my channel, you have probably seen these a few times. And these are not in great shape, but I think that adds to their charm. There's some kind of coating over these that is scratching off at points, but I really like that. I think that adds some vintage charm to these almost certainly not actually vintage earrings. My suspicion is that these are probably not necessarily Forever 21, but somewhere around that price point, but intended to look vintage. And in their original state, they probably weren't selling that image, but now that they look like they've been hanging out in the back of someone's drawer for 30 years, I think that it works out really well. And I like this dirtier take on gold. It's not bright, it's not sunny, but it goes well with both warmer and cooler tones because it is a little bit less shiny and perfect, and I think it just adds some character. And I do wear these pretty much year round, but I think that this transitional period between summer and fall and then through fall is really when these get their chance to shine, specifically because they aren't actually very shiny. I think that the newest item in this entire video is probably this pair of earrings. These are from the Elizabeth and James collection at Kohl's. I got these on clearance early in the summer, maybe late in the spring, and they are exactly that kind of gold that I was talking about not particularly liking for fall, in that they are very yellow and they're very shiny. However, I think that these are great for fall because they are so thick and just weird. I mean, they are a chain, this snake-like chain with a gold bauble on the end. They are asymmetric. They add quite a bit of movement to an outfit. Perfect for when we get into fall because as you're wearing more layers, mixing patterns and solids and different colors, I think that these just seem to fit the right proportions. They're not skinny, they're not dainty, but they also are not huge. And again, they are somewhat understated. I mean, they aren't blingy by any stretch of the imagination, but they just add a little bit of something. Jewelry is definitely the place where I like to bring in some color. I like that it doesn't feel like it needs to necessarily match with the rest of my outfit, just coordinate somewhat. And here are two pieces that I love to use to bring in a little bit of additional color. First, we have this dangly, I want to say this is intended to look like copper, this oxidized metal piece. It's not actually metal, I'm pretty sure this is just plastic, but that's what it's supposed to look like at least. These are a nice length, but they're so thin that they look quite small. And then I have these golden green earrings, which I've had for ages and ages. I think I've had these since I was in high school. And these again are that more interesting, muted kind of metal, and they have that little pop of green in there. I think that these are both really nice options to just bring in a little bit more color into a look, and especially if you're someone like me who oranges and yellows and reds are colors that you like but definitely aren't in your comfort zone. I mean, you can still like have your comfort blanket of green without going just full green lady all the time. I also love an interestingly textured stone for fall. Think Baroque Pearls, which are those really imperfect, just misshapen looking pearls, which interestingly actually lend their name to the time in history, not the reverse. Other stones, I love moonstones and opals. I don't actually have any real stone jewelry, I don't believe at least. I think I got these at a thrift store, and I think that these perfectly fit that vibe. They sort of look like mother of pearl, they sort of look like moonstone, but they just have this interesting shine and texture to them. They feel very smooth to the touch, but you can almost see the internal structure of these, which I think is stunning. I absolutely love this. And I think that these more interesting stones tend to have a little bit of a witchy vibe to them that I, and I know a lot of other people, really like to lean into a little bit in September, October, November. That seems to be just peak time for all of us to celebrate those traits within ourselves that would have gotten us burned at the stake in like 1500. And speaking of witchy, some trends I really like in jewelry during the fall are sort of moving elements. So, for example, this necklace has this little piece you can turn. You can actually turn these pieces individually. I always want to believe that it's going to stay in an interesting shape, but eventually it will just return to its single plane of existence, which is sad, but you know, at least it's here and interesting for the moment. Another one that I love this time of year, and really all times of year, is this little crystal ball necklace. I've had this for ages. I got this from the Lauren Conrad line at Kohl's, I think, like 7 or 8 years ago. I've had this for quite a while. But I love that this has little beads inside. Actually, I think they're supposed to be little rhinestones, and there's quite a bit of movement there. I think that is so pretty. I like that it has movement without making noise. Bugs the heck out of me when my jewelry is making a lot of noise throughout the day. I cannot stand that. And this, I mean, if I really shake it right up at my ear, of course I can hear it, but otherwise, no problem. And finally, the last jewelry trend that I love for fall is the layered look. Now, and you can get these pre-done, of course. I mean, there's nothing that a brand loves more than giving you essentially one clasp with 4 different necklaces all stuck to that one clasp. I would suggest against that though, especially if you are looking to thrift a lot of your jewelry or use stuff that you already have, which I think should always be your first resort. I mean, at least give it a try before you go out and purchase something new, especially if you're going to be spending quite a bit of money. Might as well try to save a little bit. I like just mixing jewelry that I already have, especially things that maybe aren't in style anymore. I find can come out in fall mixed with other pieces and really get some new life. So for example, I have this choker that I'm wearing today. This is from that, I don't know, 2016-ish resurgence of the choker. I got in at the very, very end of that, and I bought, I think, like 3 chokers in a set from Walmart, and it was like $1, so no great loss. But I think I wore them 5 times, maybe. And at least during that year or two, at the very, very tail end of the choker trend. Now that that first wave is gone and long enough in the past, I think that it's time to breathe some new life into some of your old items. So this, for example, is a lace one. There's actually little pearl beads on some of these. Some of them have fallen off over the years, but as I said, it was a Walmart purchase. And there's another one. I just managed to take another one off with my finger. Okay. Well, I'm not going to wear it right side out ever again, so I guess that's fine. But I wouldn't wear this just as is by itself. I don't particularly like it that way. However, layered with another necklace, I think it looks really cute and a little bit more fashion forward for today. The catch with those 2 necklaces in one is that eventually the trend goes away, and then you need to figure out which one necklace at most of the 2 you want to actually wear regularly. And you know, you get out the wire clippers and you have one clasp. You gotta choose one necklace that it matches and just snip away the other. So rather than do that and then end up purchasing another layered necklace the next time that cycle comes around, I just like choosing some items of a little bit different length from your thrift store, from your own collection, and just going about it that way. So, for example, This is a piece that I haven't worn a lot the last couple years, but I really do like for fall. This is really quite a short necklace. This is almost choker length, and it's gold. It has these little orange and almost amber colored glass beads on it that dangle a little bit. It's really very pretty. It's a little bit too small for my tastes most times of the year. However, during fall I like to layer it with other necklaces, so let's show this one just as an example. I will set this one to the shortest setting that I can based on this chain, and then I will usually set a necklace that's somewhat like this, a different style but similar enough colored hardware. I guess hardware is an odd term to use with jewelry, but similar enough colored metal that they don't entirely clash, and then I will wear them together. And I think that it's a bit of a more interesting combination than most brands would give you. The orange with the white is really pretty. There's a little bit of dangle. It's not that thing that I really dislike with a lot of these layered pieces where you just have like two chains and then you have almost matching charms just at different heights. I don't understand that. So I think we have finally reached the end of the jewelry portion of this video after goodness knows how long. And let's talk next about bags. And here is a bag that I actually purchased from Amazon a couple years ago and still have not used. I guess it wasn't really a couple years ago. I think I bought this just before we went into lockdown. So it's been about a year and a half. I intended to use this dark green bag for spring actually, but when I got it, I felt that it was actually a little bit more fall. I like a lot of features about this for fall. I like this deep green color. I like the mixed metals. You have this gold bead. You have this gold bee, sorry, not a bead, and this gunmetal hardware. It's a decent size. It's kind of thick. It's almost more like a camera bag dimension-wise, but it doesn't have that square shape. It's a little bit more rounded than a traditional camera bag would be. I don't love these little rhinestone wings on the bee. I think that's kind of ugly. I think I might actually either pop them off, because I assume these are just glued down. I got this for like $12 on Amazon, so I assume that the construction is not top-notch, or I might try to just paint them with the nail polish that I'm wearing today. I think that this sort of deep blue teal might be a nice combination with the rest of the bag. Very similar bags to this one at the thrift stores around me, and I would just like to remind everyone that weird little details that are just a little too much that you often see on these cheaper bags are often not that hard to remove. I mean, I am likely going to take at least one of these pulls off of the zippers because they're going to hit each other constantly as I'm walking around during the day, and I cannot stand that noise. So that's easy enough to change. Painting over these little diamond things that look really tacky is an easy thing to change. And after you've made those little changes, you end up with something that looks a lot more expensive and feels a lot more personal than the price you paid would suggest. We've talked about mixed metals. I also love just a bit of an unusual color scheme in a bag. This is from Relic. This is very old. This has been sitting in my mom's closet for years. I just love this combination of 4 different colors of leather, or in this case I'm fairly certain it's faux leather. I think that this really means that this bag would match with just about anything, because you have this white that would look great with blacks, of course. The grays and the browns together would look good with anything gray or brown, or anything that you would want to wear a brown bag, a gray bag, a white bag with. This just matches. It's beautiful. It's got the interesting texture with the multiple kinds of leather. It's a nice size. This cannot quite fit my proper laptop, but this could fit like an iPad if that's what you use. I use a pretty big laptop, so it doesn't fit that quite, but I could definitely fit some books, an iPad, my phone, wallet, any other everyday necessities into this bag. And it has a little bit thicker straps. It doesn't have those tiny little spaghetti straps, so it's actually quite comfortable to hold, and it very, very easily can go under the shoulder, over the shoulder, under the arm. Mixed up those two. The last things I have to talk about are shoes, and we're gonna see if I can't do these super, super fast, because I've been talking for 36 minutes and my throat is starting to hurt. So I have 3 pairs of shoes to show you. I got them all secondhand within the last couple of years. I'll start with the one pair that I think actually was probably pretty new when it came to me. These are from Journey Collection, which you'll find at like DSW. So I would imagine that these were probably $40 to $60 originally. I got them for like 7 or 8 on ThreadUp, but I really, really like these shoes because they have this mixture of faux leathers. They have this faux suede on this portion, and then you have this faux patent leather. I like, again, these vintage details with these silver hoops on the zipper pull. I just think these add a little bit of an interesting vintage flair to an outfit without being particularly statement-y. I mean, they are solid black with a little bit of silver. They are understated but interesting. We're just gonna keep coming back to that same statement again and again, but it is really what I love for fall, so it's worth talking about. We again have the vintage vibes, but they're vintage vibes because I'm pretty sure that these are actually vintage. These are a pair of green leather shoes from Bruno Valenci. I don't know. I love this horsebit closure on the loafer. Obviously it doesn't really do anything, but I think that it is really pretty. It does add some flair to these shoes. I love the color on these. They are a little bit of a warmer green than the bag I showed was, but they're pretty close. It's definitely a similar color. This is definitely something that I go for quite a bit, really all times of year. And again, just like the other shoes, though it's less obvious on these have a little bit of a mixed material going on, because this is more like suede. I'm guessing that with these, this actually probably is real suede. And then we have this more standard leather portion. These feel really nice. They're heavy. These are well constructed. Leather upper. So this portion would be actual leather. I imagine that these were quite pricey when they were first created. I am gonna guess that these are probably from the 90s, and the woman who originally owned these was probably significantly older than me when she got them, but they're still in really good shape. You can definitely tell that they've been worn. You can also still kind of see that they were $7.99 at Goodwill, which is I think, a great price for such a pretty pair of shoes, but they're still in really good shape. I think that these have many years of life still ahead of them. I think is the real benefit of the thrift store is that I paid $8 for a pair of shoes that are going to last me a very, very long time. I have many avenues where I could buy a less than $20 pair of shoes. I could go to, Forever 21, Kohl's, Walmart, the usual suspects, and find a pair of shoes at that price point. And they might even be pretty cute, but will they be around for someone in 25 years to pick up at the thrift store? Probably not. I think that these shoes are a really good example of what I like looking for at the thrift store because they're never going to be exactly on trend. It's a loafer, it's olive green, and it has that horse bit detail. It's never going to be super trendy. It could be, I suppose, in which case, winning. But it's never going to be extremely, extremely out of style either. It's that mix of classic with a little bit of interesting that keeps it from being boring or super, super matronly. But it's always stylish, even if it's not fashionable. And then I'm a flats person, and the thrift store is the best place to buy flats. These I got from Lucky Brand. They are looking super metallic in my viewfinder, but they have a little bit of this gold threading. You can see there's maybe, 3 or 4 gold threads to an inch. They have this geometric design. It's blue, red, black, and like a creamy yellow shade. I think that these are just interesting. I don't think that these are something that I will wear so often that it would have been worth the Lucky Brand price to purchase them. And honestly, I feel wrong paying full price for Lucky Brand. I just don't do it because their whole thing is that the clothing they sell looks vaguely like something you would get at a thrift store. So why would I pay for that? But I think that flats are an amazing find for the thrift store because a lot of people buy cute flats and they don't wear them. So if you are a person who actually wears flats, I wear flats almost every day. I wear either flats or like Keds or Converse because it will forever be 2011 in just a little portion of my heart. Definitely take a look, especially if you have a pretty average shoe size. There will probably be a nice variety of generally not like black and nude, whatever nude means for you, plain flats because people tend to keep those around and wear them, but more interesting flats, pattern ones, cute colors, ones with a little bit more interesting embellishments on them, you can often find for very, very little money because people buy them at, probably somewhat reduced price, I hope. They wear them twice, except that they are not actually flats people, and give them away. So this is your chance. So let's wrap this thing up. I hope that you found this video enjoyable. I do want to do a couple more fashion videos this fall, focused again around thrifting or getting outfit ideas from what you already own, different trends that I like for the season, the general fashion videos that aren't exactly about shopping. Admittedly, I'm going to make these videos whether or not anybody says that they want them, but if you do want to get notified, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you soon, I guess. Thanks again, and I really hope that I will see you next time. Bye!